Welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar, which is entitled Enterprise Architect 13 Release Highlights Part 2. I called this event Enterprise Architect 13 Release Highlights and noted that it was for Europe, which is waking up. But given the events in other parts of the world, I think there might even be a few people in the Americas that are stayed up very late to see the election result. Welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar, which is entitled Enterprise Architect 13 Release Highlights Part 2. I called this So, without further ado, I would like to welcome everybody to our webinar today and look forward to talking about Enterprise Architect 13 and talking about some of the release highlights. So, the agenda for today. First of all, I want to introduce YouTube Livestream, which is the new webinar platform. So people that have attended many Sparx Systems webinars in the past may notice that we are currently using a different Livestream webinar platform. So I'll introduce you to the new product and how to use it. I'm then going to switch to do a demonstration of Enterprise Architect 13, and I'm going to cover a number of different topics. I'm going to start off by looking at dynamic documents. I'm going to look at publishing to Joomla. Going to look at SysML and some parametric simulation using OpenModelica and Enterprise Architect. We'll take a look at hybrid scripting, and from time to time I'll stop the session and check out the YouTube chat to see if there's any Q&A that I can help answer, and we'll finish up at the end and make all of the video and resources available via sparxsystems.com. So YouTube Livestream. Now, based on feedback we've had from many customers, for a long time people have said that they would prefer no installation of an executable in order to view their videos. So YouTube Livestream just allows you to go either to the sparxsystems.com site or our Sparx Systems page on YouTube and view the video. So certainly don't need an executable. YouTube provides improved reach and video distribution via a proven network, and it allows you to stream your video. It also allows us to simplify the registration process, so people can just click and view the video. No complex registration process. Allows us to create engaging events with improved reliability, and I can do things like use the webcam to say hi to all of our audience out there. As per usual, if you have any feedback, we welcome your feedback. Please send it through to webinar@sparxsystems.com. And from the session that I had this morning, I've already had a number of very great questions that have been sent in. And I'll try to incorporate some of those questions into the presentation today. And so look forward to your feedback. And a few people said the video was a bit small this morning on the webcam, so I've increased that and I've increased the lighting. So we really do take your feedback on board, and we do everything possible to incorporate that feedback. As for the video being too small, there's a little cog that you can see on screen, and you can set the resolution. So set the desired resolution for your internet connection or device. If you're on a mobile device, you might like it a little bit smaller. All the video has been recorded in full HD, and so you can set the resolution as appropriate for your device. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to talk about dynamic documents. So without further ado, I'll get stuck into it. So, dynamic documents. So, dynamic documents is a new feature in Enterprise Architect 13, and I find it really quite valuable for being able to get information quite quickly. So on screen we have a copy of the EA example model that ships with every copy of Enterprise Architect. We can use the new project browser menu to find any package, diagram or element that is stored within our item. Now I might get rid of the video capture device so you can focus on Enterprise Architect. If I bring up the properties dialog box for manage inventory, you can see the status, there's notes, author information, version phase, all of the usual details. Now that's great, but the new document window can help expose a lot of that information quickly and easily. So you can see I've selected Manage Inventory, and I have used the from the Start menu, I've accessed the document window. Now the document window has two tabs. One is called Dynamic Document, the other is Linked Document. Now the Linked Document tab will show you any linked documents that are linked to a particular element. Now we're not going to focus on that right now, and we're just going to focus on the Dynamic Document tab. So when I have selected requirement number 19, you can see that the Dynamic Document automatically shows me the name of the requirement. It says that it's a functional requirement, that it's been implemented, that it's version 1.0, and it lists some notes as well. So all of that is available from within Enterprise Architect. So the Dynamic Document tab of the document window helps you to instantly generate a document based on a selected element using a range of templates to immediately display the information you require in the most appropriate structure and format. The document can be printed, but it is not stored electronically. It is dynamically generated for the current element whenever you select the tab and when you change a template. So you can see I've updated the requirement, and automatically the document window now says the new notes information and the updated details are all displayed on screen. So it's important to note that you can't edit this document. 1 minute. So you can't edit this document. So you'll need to make changes to the element via the properties dialog as shown on screen. So any changes made to an element are instantly reflected in the document window, and this report can be easily printed. So as I select different elements on screen, the dynamic document window automatically updates. So I also have the option of choosing from different style templates. So you can see that I've just jumped forward a little bit. I've changed the version, I've changed it to approved. And when I change all those properties, then all that information is automatically updated. So I have the ability to change the templates that are used, so it displays different information on screen. And you can see whenever I select a new element, the document window automatically reflects and changes the details. So it's a great way of finding out and eliciting information and displaying it in a report format. Now from the menu, if I select dynamic style, I can automatically choose a different selector. So there are a number of pre-built ones that ship with Enterprise Architect. So I have DD details, for example, and that provides all of the outgoing structural relationships, all of the incoming structural relationships, and all of the connectors. So at a glance, I can identify the name, version, phase, relationship, and connectors all in this report. And whenever I select another element on screen, it automatically updates. So dynamic documents can be exported to a range of different formats. So these include PDF, RTF, DocX, and HTML. So I can pump all of that information out to a document and save it. So instant report generation from your model elements. You can select from a number of different zoom settings, and I can set a custom zoom setting such as 115%. So this dynamic documents provides a really simple yet cost-effective reporting structure, and you can print. Now if I select the diagram itself, you can see the report displays the diagram on screen as well. So it's really an effective, cost-effective, useful way of presenting information on screen. Now one of the questions that I had earlier this morning was, well, how can I edit that template? So I have a copy of Enterprise Architect here, and you can see I've got the resources window open. So I can right click and I can override one of these templates. I can highlight the template here, for example, and I can make changes to the size and the color. I can then save this template, and I can close that down. Now I know that the document window, if I bring it up here and if I select my dynamic range, I know that if I look at DD Basic, I can use that information. So I can go in and I can make changes to these various settings, and I can implement those changes to my template. So if you're looking at how you can edit these, just go override, and then you'll see that we have the element here, and of course we can make changes and edit it and use those templates. We can also copy that information and paste it and create new styles. So have a look in the resources section, and you can make changes and you can create your own dynamic templates and use them in Enterprise Architect. So what I might do now is I might just quickly have a look and see if we have some questions. And someone has asked what version of Enterprise Architect we're using. So we're using Enterprise Architect 13 build 1307. And so thank you for that question. And there's another question saying, will some of the models be made available? So any of the models that I show tonight will be made available on the Sparx Systems website in a couple of weeks' time. So what I might do now is we'll jump onto the next topic, which is Joomla. So I apologize for the delay. I'll be with you in one moment. So okay. So publishing to Joomla is another Enterprise Architect 13 feature that you would all be familiar with. So Enterprise Architect has always offered the flexibility with different publication formats, including docx, RTF, PDF, and HTML. Enterprise Architect 13 now provides a facility for publishing model content as articles in a local Joomla installation. This allows you to publish your Enterprise Architect model globally via Joomla or internally within an organization. So now let's step through the process of how to publish an Enterprise Architect model to Joomla. So the first thing we need to do is we need to install Joomla. The next thing we need to do is connect to Joomla's MySQL DBMS. And finally, we can publish your Enterprise Architect model directly to Joomla. So let's take a closer look at how we connect Enterprise Architect to Joomla's MySQL database. Once a connection is established, you can publish your model. So first thing we need to do is follow the online configuration steps to install Joomla. This includes a site name, description, and an admin username and password. So select the MySQL database type, choose a host name and a username. Once you've successfully installed, switch to Enterprise Architect in order to connect to the Joomla database. So please remember, for security reasons, to remove the installation folder. And that's it. We've now gone through and we've created our Joomla interface. So now we can connect Enterprise Architect to Joomla's MySQL database. So to do this, configure access to Joomla's MySQL database. Switching to EA, you can use the configure ribbon to configure access to Joomla's MySQL database. Select ODBC data sources and add a MySQL DBMS driver. The next thing we need to do is configure the data source to connect to our Joomla repository. So we're using localhost, but you might have a IP address. Enter the username, the database. Under the connection tab, select allow big result sets. And under the cursors and results tab, select return match rows instead of affected rows. Once you've done all this, you can test your settings and click OK to continue. And we've now established a connection to Joomla. So on screen, we've got a copy of the Enterprise Architect model that we wish to publish to Joomla. So under the Publish tab, select Web and Publish to Joomla. From this dialog, first thing you can do is select which model you'd like to publish, and you can select Model Simulation, the package, for example, that we'd like to publish to Joomla. Select the Joomla database connection, and we created one before called EA Joomla. Once again, set the initial catalog to use. Select your Joomla folder. So I've selected a local file there, and I select my Joomla user, and I can now publish that package. So that package is now been taken out of Enterprise Architect and is published on Joomla. So you can now view your Joomla model via the web. So one of the advantages of using Joomla is that it allows you to very quickly and easily get all of your Enterprise Architect material up on a very familiar web-based platform. You can see the project browser is on the right-hand side of the screen, and allows you, and you can see the package called Model Simulation has been published in its entirety. So you can view diagrams, you can click elements, you can drill down into your model, and use all of Joomla's features to make your Enterprise Architect model readily available. So I can click on activity models and multiple orders, and I can see diagrams, and I can look at the who the author is of this particular element, and I can drill down and find out information. Another one of the advantages of using Enterprise Architect and Joomla is that you can define your own Joomla layout. So to change your template style, simply log into Joomla's admin section. Up the top under extensions and templates, you can select a different template. Now by default, we're using Protostar, which is the default template. And the default template has the project browser on the right hand side of screen. However, there are many other layouts. So you can select another layout, and it will automatically render everything based on that new layout. So now you can see the project browser is on the left of screen. So it's really good for getting visual changes and being able to have control over how the model is presented online. So it just gives added flexibility. By using Joomla, you also have the ability to search your model. So there's a search box up the top of the screen. And for example, I can search for BPSim, and 44 results have been found, and I can instantly find elements within my model and and inquire about them. Joomla also has content modules, so that provides the ability to supply comments on model elements and diagrams using Joomla comment modules. Using an add-in module, you can post comments using Joomla. This allows stakeholders and customers to comment on model elements in a web-based environment to improve collaboration and enhance model design. Stakeholders simply provide a name, email address, and can contribute to a shared discussion. So this is a convenient way or method of getting feedback from your users. So just to recap some of the things that I've presented so far, I've had a brief look at dynamic documents. And dynamic documents allow you to select any element within Enterprise Architect and it'll automatically produce a dynamic report. You can change the zoom, you can print that out, and you can apply different templates. You can go to the resources section and you can copy and paste parts of the template that you like. You can change the font color, change the design, change the layout. You can create your own templates and you can apply those. The next thing we've done is we've had a look at Joomla and being able to take everything in Enterprise Architect and print it out to Joomla. So just having a look at the question, and says, is the requirements diagram of any specific standard or something of Sparx creation? So the requirements diagram in Enterprise Architect that I showed before was just an example of a requirements diagram. It is based on the UML standard, and you have a number of different elements, so you can see relationships between one requirement and other requirements. Enterprise Architect has the flexibility and the ability to not only present requirements in a diagrammatic form like that, but you can also view it as a list, or you can use Specification Manager to view your requirements as in a text-based format for BAs that might be more familiar with that. One of the advantages of using a requirements diagram like that is it's really good for traceability. So you can select an element, bring up the traceability diagram, and you can instantly see how that requirement is linked to other requirements in your model, use cases, and you can trace it all the way down to code and deployment. So that's quite valuable. So the next topic I'd like to look at is OpenModelica. So I will bring that up on screen now. So OpenModelica in Enterprise Architect 13 allows you to do great things with your SysML models and allows you to undertake parametric simulation. So one of the questions I got this morning was about the model that I'm about to demonstrate, and a few people said, can we get access to that? So you most certainly can, and probably in about 2 weeks' time we'll try and take some of the models here and publish them on the Sparx Systems website. So we will certainly endeavour to try and make them available to you as quickly as possible. So SysML parametric simulation using OpenModelica is available in Enterprise Architect 13. So the objective of this webinar is to learn how to use a SysML model created in Enterprise Architect and OpenModelica to plot a simulated lunar landing. We want to plot variations on the simulation, then compare and contrast the results. So we'll take a look at the underlying SysML model to see how that works. We'll see how it integrates with OpenModelica in order to simulate and produce the results. So yeah, this is really a great, powerful new feature in Enterprise Architect 13. So for this particular example, we're going to be plotting a lunar module. And so here we've got the Sparx lunar module landing on the moon, putting a Enterprise Architect flag on the moon. So when we're doing this simulation, there really are two key variables that help determine the best outcome. And so what we're looking at is two rockets with two different thrusts. and this will be used throughout the example. So the two key variables that determine the best outcome of a lunar landing is the time that each rocket is used and the thrust of each rocket. So we're going to encapsulate that all in a SysML model and show you how to do that. So let's simulate this by plotting the factors that are being calculated in the model. So, for example, the altitude change as the lunar module descends, the thrust of the two rockets, and the change in gravity upon approaching the moon, and the change in velocity. So all of these parameters can be captured within Enterprise Architect. So on screen we have Enterprise Architect. So the very first thing that you need to do is select SysML in the Simulate ribbon. For those of you that didn't see part 1 on the Sparx Systems website, there's a lot of information about some of the new ribbon features in Enterprise Architect. And so I would encourage you to go to sparxsystems.com/webinars and have a look at some of the previous EA13 features to learn more. But under the Simulate ribbon, we can select the SysML section. So what we want to do is we want to actually manage our SysML, and we're going to find any SysML configuration artifacts. So we have one already written called Rocket. So simply double click your simulation artifact and it will bring up the Configure SysML window, which allows us to configure our simulation. So you can see on the left hand side there's a block for the rocket, moon landing and celestial body. And on the right hand side you have all of the different things that you are able to plot. So let's try plotting altitude. So I'm starting off with a finished example first. So you can see that this very first example shows the rate of decline in altitude from 60 kilometers up, and it shows you how that goes here on screen. Now what's great is all of that information is sent to OpenModelica and it automatically does the simulation and plots the results. We can view the change in thrust. So I'm going to select thrust, I'm going to deselect altitude and click solve. So this plot shows the thrusts from the two rockets over time. And so you can see it's very, very powerful because all of these things, such as fuel, so fuel is consumed and the mass decreases as fuel is consumed. So if we click solve, we can see the mass of the lunar module decreases over time. We can also plot the change in gravity. So once again, just select the properties to plot, click solve, and we can see the change in gravity. And so decreasing altitude shows increasing gravity, as we would expect. And we can also look at the change in velocity. So once again, I'll highlight velocity and click solve, and we can see that the velocity decline associated with both the change in thrust and gravity. So what's behind the simulation? So far we've looked at how we can plot altitude, gravity, thrust, and a number of different factors. But that could be any number of different elements. So the simulation uses a number of mathematical formulas. So let's have a look at what's behind the simulation. So we'll take a look at the SysML model, the Modelica script. So there's a number of different simulation formulas. So for a rocket traveling to the moon, the following physics formula can be applied. So acceleration equals thrust minus mass plus gravity divided by mass. So for altitude, velocity, and acceleration, we need the following formulas. Now, the purpose of this webinar is not Physics 101, but it is important to know that we can use Modelica to capture all of these attributes and to plot a simulation on each of these attributes. So it's really powerful and can be applied to any number of different systems examples. So to track a change in gravitation with respect to altitude, we need the following formulas. So the gravity, we need moon, mass, altitude, and the radius of the moon. Now you'll see some of these figures in our block diagram in SysML coming up soon. So I don't expect you to remember some of these physics formulas, but I just hope that you'll appreciate that you'll see them when we have a look at Enterprise Architect in a moment. So to ensure a smooth landing, we need to apply 2 different thrusts, and all of that is encapsulated here as well. So let's take a brief look at the moon landing parametric model to see how all this is done in Enterprise Architect. So, and how we can take the formulas that I've just shown on screen and how they can be applied in our SysML model. So the block definition diagram references the formula in the constraint blocks. So this is a reference to a constraint block. So we can view the constraint to see what it looks like. And here's the constraints now. And you can see you've got gravity, altitude, mass, and radius. And all of that is here as the source Modelica mathematical expression that is stored within Enterprise Architect and passed through to EA. Here we've got our rocket. So the formula is applied in the blocks parametric diagram. And here's an example where we've got the referred formula that we just mentioned before. So all of this is captured in our Enterprise Architect model. So you can vary your simulations using data sets. So let's simulate 2 variations in the main rocket's thrust, and we'll see what that looks like. So here we are, we've got our configure SysML simulation, and we can access the data set in the SysML sim model. So that's here on the left hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our moon landing and have a look at the declarations. So the data set is defined here under declarations. So we can duplicate those declarations and make changes. So we're going to duplicate our data set, and this data set is now called declarations 1. We can open it for editing, and all the variations appear in the value column on the right hand side. So let's change the first rocket's force. So it's currently 36,350, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and change that to 46,350. So before I continue on, we had a set of declarations which was a nice safe moon landing where all the values were set. Now what we're doing is we're taking a value of the force and increasing it slightly to see what impact increasing the force of that engine will have on the lunar landing. So if I click OK, what do I want to plot? Well, I want to plot our altitude. We can select our new data set. So rather than using declarations, we're going to use declarations 1 and solve. So here's what's really interesting about this particular chart is that by increasing the thrust of that engine, the result is we miss the moon by 20,000 meters. So the landing craft never actually lands on the moon, and we have completely failed in our mission objective. Now why this is important is that it's much better to do these things within Enterprise Architect in a simulation environment. So you can experiment with results and see what happens. For example, let's say one of the thrusters was malfunctioning and was actually overburning. Well, you can very quickly enter the results into this simulation and find out that if it's overburning or producing too much thrust, then you'll actually miss the moon altogether. So this is a really valuable tool, and it's much better to experiment and test with these results in a simulation environment. It's a lot less expensive, and it can help you identify and spot some problems that might occur from things like thrust or changes in the weight of the landing craft. So for For example, when you get on the moon, all of a sudden the weight might increase because you put moon rocks on board, and that changes the way that the craft behaves. So all these things can be simulated using SysML model and Enterprise Architect, and using OpenModelica to run that. So while the chart is great, the underlying value is how you might be able to use these features. And the EA example model has lots of examples. So the previous example showed one variation on one graph using a copied data set. But it's much better if we can compare and contrast a number of different sets of results all at the same time. So now let's plot all of the variations on one graph, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So to set this up, you can create a new SysML block with the properties referencing the main moon landing block. Each property will provide its own set of values to plot, and then you can put them all on the one chart so you can compare and contrast. So the first thing we need to do is create a new block for the simulation. So I've created a new block, and I'm going to give it a name, moon landing test. Now create properties referencing the moon landing block. So I can do this by simply dragging and dropping them on and adding them as a property, as so. And we're going to have three parts, so part 1, part 2, and part 3. And this will allow us to show 3 different moon landings with different properties and allow us to compare them. So now we're going to switch back to our simulation view. So here's our configure SysML simulation. And under moon landing, we're going to set the appropriate values, and we're going to set moon landing test as the SysML sim model. So you can see here are the 3 parts that we've created, part 1, part 2, and part 3. So to create a data set for these tests, what we can do is we've got our declarations here, and we can set the main block's data set as default. So now that's our default data set. Now we're going to create a copy of the default data set, and now we can set some new values. So in order to do this, I simply open it up, and here's our 3 parts. So once again, the default set is 36,350. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the thrust of that rocket to 46,350. For part 2, we're just going to leave that as default. So see what happens if we use standard values. And for this one, we're going to actually decrease the amount of thrust to see what impact that will have to our craft to 36,000. Now we've set our simulation. We can select our new data set, which is data set 1, and select the 3 altitude plots that we want to have shown on the one graph. So we want to have a look at part 1 altitude, part 2 altitude, and part 3 altitude. We run and we solve, and the graph is shown on screen. So you can see that there are 3 colors. There's red, blue, and green. And these 3 plots have all been automatically generated on 3 graphs. So we can see that in part 1, when we increased the thrust, we missed the moon by 20,000 meters. Part 2, you can see, is a perfect safe landing where we land on the moon's surface and everything has worked well. When we decrease the thrust for part 3, you can see that there is actually a negative altitude. So in other words, the lunar module has crashed into the moon or the lunar surface, and so 2 of those represent a mission failure. So the only set of values which are of value are part 2, using those default sets. Now this gives you a great deal of flexibility to be able to compare and contrast different issues, and it also helps you see that if for whatever reason there's a failure in one of the engines, then that reduction in thrust could actually cause the lunar module to crash. So it's really important that you actually get these things right, and it's much better to identify these problems here in a simulation environment than it is once you once the mission has begun. So variations are plotted in 3 colours and they're displayed on screen for us. So, as I said, blue represents a smooth landing on the moon. The red, which is part 1. Green is below 0, which represents a crash. And the red line represents a miss of 20,000 metres due to too much thrust. So, our goal is to hopefully have a nice, safe landing on the moon, and that's what we're aiming for. So, in a complex systems engineering situation, such as a moon landing, it's much more cost-effective and safer to test the impact of parameter changes using a simulation in Enterprise Architect. So this example showed how a small change in thrust can have a critical impact on mission success. And I'm sure there are many of you working in different fields that could imagine how this information could be used. And you can take complex mathematical and physics formulas and send the data to OpenModelica and plot the results. And we happen to have plotted altitude, but there are a number of different factors that could all appear on the one graph. And the information that you can get from that visual presentation is very powerful indeed. So, to recap, we started off, we had a look at dynamic documents. We then moved on to being able to publish our models to Joomla. And now we've had a look at some SysML parametric modeling done in Enterprise Architect, where some of the simulation results are outputted to OpenModelica. In the Enterprise Architect example model, there are a number of different examples covering there's water tanks that show water flow examples, there's electrical circuits, and I'm sure at some time in the future I might step through some of the examples in the EA example model. But what's great is that the EA example model has a number of different systems all set up ready to go, so you can experiment and see how it works. And once again, we'll make this available at the in a couple of weeks' time. We'll make this moon landing simulation available so that you can try it for yourself at home. So just switching back, I am conscious of the time and it's ticking away here. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to have a look at hybrid scripting, and then I'll wrap it up with some questions and we'll go from there. So I'll just bring that up now. So hybrid scripting in Enterprise Architect 13 is a really great a great feature that was released with Enterprise Architect 13. And hybrid scripting allows you to access model information in Enterprise Architect using a high-level language such as C# or Java. So what I'd like to do now is I'll show you how it works and step you through an example. So the goal of this demonstration is to use hybrid scripting to list each and every package that is included in the EA example model. So the model pattern shown on screen, which is included with the EA example model, allows you to debug your hybrid script. The class contains the corresponding script, which is now shown on screen. The system output window indicates when the application is being built and identifies any errors in the build process. Once you run the application, the system output window is used to display the title, process ID, and all the package names. So now I've shown you the results. How do you go about creating a hybrid script using a model pattern in Enterprise Architect 13? So the very first thing you need to do is you need to go up to the model wizard, and from the applications pattern tab, choose from either .NET 3.5 or 4. I've chosen 3.5. but you can use whatever you have installed on your system. And I'm going to click OK. So it automatically produces everything that you need. So if I open the diagram you can see has tools that allow you to build the project, to run your program, to debug your program. The class contains all the script. There's a bit of an overview that tells you everything that you need to do. So it says this sample program demonstrates how easy it is to navigate and to query and report on the current model using any .NET language. You can view your script by selecting the class and pressing F12. Once you do that, you can use the execute ribbon, and from the execute ribbon you can access breakpoints. So breakpoints allow you to stop the execution, so you can step over the hybrid script one line at a time so that you can understand exactly what's happening on screen. From the execution analyzer, just make sure that the repository interface example is selected so that you're using the correct script. And you can use the diagram to instantly build the project, or you can use build from the ribbon interface. So it's completed, exited with code 0, which means it is completed successfully. If we run our application, you can see all of the package names are being printed on screen in the system output window. And if I scroll up the top, you can see that there's a line there that says running C# console application. I'm going to clear this now and we'll step through it a line at a time so you can get a better understanding of how this code actually works. So on screen, I'm going to insert a couple of line breaks. I'm going to put a line break on line 28, on line 37, 47, 67. So I'm going to save this as a breakpoint set so I can use it. And I'm going to call it hybrid debug so I can use it on another occasion. And I can press start and I can start running my application. So it's stopped at line 28, which says it's a trace statement that's going to say running C# console application pattern. And you can see that that text is printed out on screen now. If I step over again, at line 47, it's another trace statement that's going to print the process ID for the model. So if I step over that line of code, you can see the target repository has a process ID of 3092. Now you can see there's a for loop here which goes through, and for each child package we then print the child package. And so the very first package that is printed is example model, which you can see. And if I step over, next is getting started, followed by modeling basics in UML modeling, and so on and so forth. Now the only perhaps unexpected behavior is after modeling basics, you'd expect UML modeling to come up, but line styles has come up. So if we drill down into the project browser, you can see that there's a number of child packages sitting under that. So the way the behavior of the program works is that it prints all of the child packages first before moving on to the next package in the tree. So what we have here is a C# application which is going through and displaying information, package names from the example model and printing them on screen. Now obviously if you can get package names, you can get element names, and you can do a number of different things as far as the automation interface is concerned, all within Enterprise Architect. And there will be some people that are much more familiar with Java or C# and will find scripting in this hybrid language much more convenient than using some of the traditional scripting languages. So what we've done tonight is we have shown a number of different features. Now on the Sparx Systems website there are if I just bring up sparksystems.com/EA13 and I will show that on screen. We have our release page. So there's information about the ribbon interface. There's information about time-aware modeling, clone, diagram filtering. And for most of these, we covered them, some of these items in our first webinar. So there are a range of diagrams, there's links to help. And for example, if you want to learn about dynamic documents, you can watch the video. There's videos on some of the new searches and charts and on some of the new diagram filter features. So that's really great. You might notice too that we have a new menuing system, and under resources you can always have a look at upcoming webinars or our library of previous webinars, and at any time you can have a look and look at our hundreds of hours of previous webinars to find out anything from effective use case modeling right down to database engineering or requirements management and all of those different topics. So the website's a great resource and the webinars are a great resource. Tonight we've trialed using YouTube and doing a live event. One of the joys of doing a live event is occasionally a few things might go wrong and I might need to pause and take a breath occasionally, but I think it's a great way of being able to talk to our customers. In future we'll set up Q&A so that people can give us feedback, not necessarily through the YouTube or Google features, but can simply enter Q&A on the form and send it through to us. But obviously, if there's anything you'd like to see, if you have any suggestions, please email us at webinars@sparksystems.com. We would love to hear your feedback. So tonight we've covered a great deal of topics, and I really appreciate your feedback, and there's been a number of questions come through, and we'll make all of this available online and after the event, and we really look forward to your feedback and look forward to having more webinars in the future. So thank you very much for your time tonight, and I hope to see everyone at a future webinar where we'll cover some more topics in more detail. So that's it from me, and take care and have a good night.